Welcome! In this short course, we'll explore the critical link between democracy and global justice. We'll see how democracy is more than elections. It's a system that supports participation, accountability, and the pursuit of fairness. Most importantly, we'll understand how democratic structures are essential to achieving the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Along the way, we'll examine key ideas to understand the issue. The 2030 Agenda, adopted by the United Nations in 2015, includes 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. These aim to tackle poverty, inequality, climate change, health, and education, all with the vision of building more inclusive, just, and peaceful societies. But none of these goals can be met without democratic systems. Why? Because democracy ensures participation, transparency, and the protection of human rights. It gives citizens a voice in shaping the policies that affect their lives. Let's pause for a second. Ask yourself, how many of the SDGs do you think depend on democratic institutions to truly work? The answer is almost all of them. Think of SDG 16. It explicitly calls for peaceful and inclusive societies, access to justice for all, and accountable institutions. Democracy is the political condition that makes the rest of the agenda possible. Let's imagine a country trying to implement the SDGs without democracy. What happens? Citizens can't meaningfully participate in decision-making. Institutions lack transparency. Resources are often mismanaged. Human rights may be suppressed. Marginalized groups remain voiceless. Would people trust the process? Would the change be sustainable? Probably not. In contrast, democracies allow people to organize, demand change, and monitor public policies. They create the environment for sustainable development to flourish. Philosopher Nancy Fraser helps us think about justice in 3 dimensions. Distribution. Are resources, opportunities, and burdens fairly shared? This includes wealth, healthcare, education, and access to housing or clean water. But it also includes burdens, like exposure to pollution or economic instability. A society that concentrates benefits in the hands of a few while distributing risks to the many fails this test. Fraser's idea of distributive justice aligns with SDG goals that address poverty, inequality, and environmental balance. Think of fair taxation, universal education, or equal pay for equal work. Recognition. Are all identities and cultures valued and respected? Justice also involves how people are seen. Are their identities acknowledged or dismissed? Are their cultural practices respected or erased? Recognition justice looks at symbolic and institutional respect, ensuring that no group is made to feel inferior or invisible. This is central for gender equality, racial justice, and the rights of indigenous and LGBTQ+ communities. It connects directly to SDG 5 and SDG 10. Representation. Who gets to participate in decision-making processes? This is about who has a voice in shaping the rules. Representation justice ensures that all affected individuals and communities have access to the political structures that govern their lives. It asks whether the decision-making processes themselves are inclusive, accountable, and transparent. This is vital for strong institutions, SDG 16, and democratic governance. You might notice how each of these is reflected in the SDGs. Distribution, SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 10, reduced inequality. Recognition, SDG 5, gender equality. Representation, SDG 16, strong institutions and inclusion. Fraser's model pushes us beyond economic fairness. It asks us to see injustice in cultural erasure and political exclusion too. Think about your own society. Where do these three dimensions show up or fall short? Fraser goes further. She says we live in abnormal times, when people don't even agree on what justice is. Some see inequality as the core issue. Others focus on identity and respect. Still others worry about political manipulation and exclusion. Is this fractured context? Do we move forward? How do we build the shared vision the SDGs ask for? Fraser's answer is we must invest in inclusive democratic spaces, places where people can debate, disagree, and still move toward collective decisions. To navigate disagreement, we need dialogue, but not just any kind. Habermas introduces the idea of communicative action. It's about exchanging ideas sincerely, aiming for mutual understanding, not personal victory. When we talk this way, we're making three silent promises. First, that what we say is true, not manipulated, not fake, but based on reality. Second, that it's morally acceptable, which means we are speaking in a way that respects others' rights and dignity. Third, that we're being honest, not hiding agendas, not playing games. Sounds idealistic? Maybe. But it's also practical. It's how trust is built in courts, councils, and communities. If SDG 16 calls for strong institutions, institutions only work if people believe in them and believe each other. Because institutions aren't made of stone or paper, they are made of people, and people only trust institutions when they trust each other. That's why dialogue, real, meaningful dialogue, isn't just a nice to have, it's the foundation. Now let's add another layer. What if the room for dialogue isn't open to everyone? Iris Marion Young warns that even democratic spaces can be exclusionary. Some groups don't feel safe or welcome. Some voices are constantly interrupted, ignored, or discredited. Young's solution: design participation with difference in mind. Not everyone communicates the same way. Not everyone shares the same risks. She encourages democratic forums that recognize plural experiences, spaces where listening matters as much as speaking. It's a powerful reminder for SDG 5, 10, and 16. Inclusion isn't just about being allowed in, it's about being heard. Let's zoom out. Today, many decisions affecting our lives are made beyond our borders. Trade agreements, financial rules, climate goals, these come from institutions like the WTO or the IMF, or from regional blocs like the EU. Nancy Fraser calls this a world of multi-level governance. But here's the problem: not all of these institutions are democratic. So the challenge becomes, How can we make global and regional governance more accountable? How do we democratize transnational decision-making? The 2030 Agenda doesn't just say governments must act. It calls for partnerships across sectors, across borders. But these partnerships must also be transparent and just. Let's bring this closer to home with a real example. The city of Gijón in northern Spain. In recent years, Gijón has invested heavily in participatory democracy. First, there's Participa Gijón, a digital platform where residents can propose ideas, vote on local plans, and engage with the city council. Anyone over 16 can take part. Then there's participatory budgeting. Citizens help decide how to allocate several million euros in public funds. They vote on proposals, and the most supported projects get funded. There are also district councils, youth forums, and face-to-face assemblies. The aim is to make participation habitual, not a one-off. Gijón shows us what it means to build democratic muscle at the local level. Imagine your own city with these tools. What would you propose? What would you vote for? So, what have we seen? Democracy is essential not just for SDG 16, but for all 17 goals. Without participation, we lose direction. Without accountability, we lose trust. Without justice, we lose people. From philosophers to city planners, from global institutions to neighborhood forums, the message is clear. Democracy is not a luxury. It's the engine of sustainable development. And here's the final question. What role can you play? Whether you're a student, teacher, activist, or just a curious citizen, your voice matters. Seek out spaces to participate. Ask for more inclusive structures. Question the rules and imagine better ones. Because democracy isn't just something we inherit, it's something we build. So these are suggestions for further reading and resources, and thank you for your attention.